Late morning sun slanted through the dusty windows of a small frontier church. The pews were full, not with joy, but with curiosity. They hadn't come to bless the bride. They'd come to laugh. Elena stood at the door, pale in her modest white dress, clutching a bouquet of dried flowers. She couldn't hear the whispers, but she saw them, the pity, the mockery. She can't even hear the vows, someone sneered. Her steps trembled, yet she walked on. At the altar, Elijah, her groom, waited coldly. When the priest asked if he'd take her as his wife, he sneered, "I can't marry a woman who doesn't even know when someone says her name." Laughter erupted. Elena froze. Her bouquet fell. Shame burned through her silent world. Then a voice thundered from the back. "That's enough." The church turned. Colt Briner, a rugged rancher, broad-shouldered, eyes like storm clouds, strode forward. He helped Elena to her feet, looked the crowd dead in the eye, and said, "She is better than all of you. And I will marry her now." The church fell silent. The priest stammered but performed the ceremony. Colt took her hand, steady and sure. When they left, no one laughed. At Colt's ranch, he offered her warmth, safety, and silence, not as a cage, but as peace. He wrote on a slate, "You are safe here." She didn't understand why he'd helped her, but she felt seen for the first time in her life. Days passed quietly. Then she found a small notebook and wrote, "You didn't have to, but you did." The next morning, a charcoal sketch waited there, a broken ear, crossed out, with the words, "You hear more than most." Tears blurred her vision. For the first time, she felt truly heard. From that day, they built a language together. Colt brought her a sign language book and learned each motion, fumbling but patient. At night by the fire, he practiced her name, her favorite words, home, safe, together. Their silence became their song. One evening, beneath a wide Montana sky, Elena told him her past. How her father once locked her in a horse stall for not answering when called. She hadn't heard him. Colt wrote on his slate, "You don't need ears to hear the truth. You've always seen it first." In that quiet, she took his hand, not in fear, but in choice. Months later, they returned to town. Whispers followed them, and Thomas, the man who'd humiliated her, sneered again. "She's your charity case, Briner. Can't even argue back." Colt's voice cut through the air. "You laughed because she's quiet, but she's the only one who ever listened." Then Elena stepped forward and signed, "I may not hear your insults, but I see who you are. I stand here strong, not because of your kindness, but in spite of your hatred." The square fell silent. The crowd saw her not as broken, but as brave. Thomas turned away in shame. Seasons turned. A young deaf boy came to her door, asking to learn signs. She taught him under the cottonwood tree. Soon others came, children, parents, neighbors. What began as lessons became a school. Her silence grew into a movement of understanding. At the harvest fair, the mayor invited her to speak. She signed slowly, "You once saw me as broken, but I was never broken, just unheard. Now you're learning to listen." Colt translated aloud. Applause thundered across the square, a sound she couldn't hear but could feel in her bones. Time passed gently. Colt and Elena moved into a small home near town, built a garden, and beside it, a school for deaf children. Every evening, they wrote together, her stories, her memories, her truths. One dusk, Colt knelt and offered her a silver ring. He signed, not for duty, for love. Then whispered, "I don't want the world to hear us. I just wanted to see us." Their second wedding took place beneath the cottonwood, no priest, no music, only wind, sunlight, and two hearts that spoke in silence. Years later, the town gathered for Founder's Day. Elena's students performed a dance without sound, a choreography of signs and movement, a language of light. She ended the performance signing, even if the world never hears me, I will still speak. I will still dance. And I will still be loved. The crowd rose in tears and applause. Even Thomas bowed his head. Colt stepped onto the stage, held her close, and whispered, "You taught them to listen." That night, as lanterns glowed across Deerhorn Crossing, Elena stood on the ridge overlooking the valley. She couldn't hear the laughter or music below, but she didn't need to. The silence she once feared had become her voice. Behind her, Colt wrote the final line in his journal. She was born without sound, but she taught a whole town how to listen.